Good evening, I'm Sébastien Saint-François. Tonight, we get reaction after police in Ottawa arrest and charge a teenager in relation to an alleged terrorism plot against the city's Jewish community.
This is a very distressing time for the Jewish community.
We'll also take a closer look at how some communities are addressing the rise in anti-Semitism and Islamophobia. Plus,
so when we start, I hope my sale, not a double, but more than a double, I'm sure.
with Ontario planning to expand the sale of alcohol, some convenience store owners hope the change will help a struggling sector. And
just hoping that when the person opens it on Christmas morning, that it brings a smile to their face and a little bit of extra joy to their day.
how a community initiative is bringing some holiday cheer to seniors experiencing social isolation.
This is CBC Late Night News.
Hello and welcome. The RCMP are warning parents and community leaders to be on the lookout for signs of radicalization after a teen in Ottawa was charged with terrorism-related offenses for an alleged plot against the city's Jewish community. JP Tasker looks at what we know about this case.
The RCMP say they've stopped what could have been a catastrophic attack on the Jewish community. Little is known about the terror suspect. The person is a minor and therefore shielded by a publication ban. It's alleged they instructed someone to carry out an attack with an explosive device.
The tension, the fear among Jewish residents is very high.
The city's mayor is promising more protective measures.
We've been increasing patrols around synagogues and other Jewish institutions.
Community leaders fear the threat is rising.
Anti-Semitism has skyrocketed since October 7th, and I've been saying it over and over again. If things aren't going to get better, they're going to get worse, and here they got worse.
The Mounties report an uptick in youth radicalization, saying in a statement there's a concerning trend of violent extremism and terrorist use of the internet. Since June 2023, the RCMP has arrested 5 young persons on terrorism-related offenses.
If the whole Israeli-Hamas conflict hadn't happened, we wouldn't be having this conversation.
This terrorism expert says the war and how it's portrayed on social media is driving some teenagers into the arms of recruiters.
You meet other people who share your point of view, who confirm it, who urge you on to do even more, get involved more in the ideas, to solidify your views, legitimate it. Wow, look, I'm not alone. All these other people feel this way too.
Ottawa's Muslim community is on edge, says this local imam.
Whenever there is a threat against anyone, including our Jewish neighbors, that is deeply concerning to all of us.
Sikander Hashmi says the brutal scenes out of the Israel-Gaza conflict have stirred up anger and frustration.
Clearly, these types of horrific tragedies and horrific instances of war and pain and grief can certainly be used to try to radicalize young people. It's flooding their social media streams. We're not in a good place right now.
There's been a spike in hate crimes across the country. Hundreds of incidents have been reported to police since October 7th, including dozens here in Ottawa. The federal government has chipped in $5 million to bolster security at religious and cultural sites, but community leaders say they need a lot more than that to keep people safe. JP Tasker, CBC News, Ottawa.
The United Jewish Appeal Federation of Greater Toronto also reacting tonight after Saturday's arrest. The organization sounding the alarm over recent acts of hate against the community.
Really, this is deeply alarming to see a terrorist plot intercepted here in Canada, here in our nation's capital, a plot that sought to target Jewish people here in Canada. This is something that, while we're grateful that law enforcement was able to put a stop to this before anyone was harmed, it's something that should be a wake-up call for all Canadians. Just the kinds of things that are being fueled by anti-Jewish hate across this country right now. We saw in recent weeks the firebombing of a synagogue, the shooting of schools, bomb threats called in to Jewish schools and community centers. This is a very distressing time for the Jewish community.
And Toronto Police's hate crime unit have arrested a man in connection with suspected hate-motivated mischief. On December 2nd, it is alleged that a man boarded a TTC bus in the area of Bloor Street West and Jane Street. He then allegedly spray-painted several messages of hate on windows, putting the bus out of service. 51-year-old Christopher Welsh has been arrested and charged with 1 count of mischief and interfering with property. He is scheduled to appear in court next February. As you've probably heard lately, police say reports of hate crimes are up in several Canadian cities, including spikes of anti-Semitism and Islamophobia. Mosque in Vaughan held an open house this weekend, inviting community members of all faiths to visit, hoping to battle hate with knowledge. Anam Khan reports.
Feeling a sense of urgency to address the recent hostility in local communities, dozens of people gathered at a mosque in Vaughan. For some, it was the first time stepping into the religious space.
Very, very welcoming. It's a beautiful community, especially during these hard times that we're seeing.
Almeida came here as part of the Bring a Friend to the Mosque event organized by the Ahmadiyya Muslim Jamaat Canada. They're calling people of all faiths to the mosque, hoping to help put a stop to Islamophobia and anti-Semitism in Toronto.
I think it's interesting how it was explained that it's an evolution, and so it's not that other religions are wrong or bad or anything. It's just different beliefs, how we've evolved over time.
The same event being held in 20 mosques across the country this weekend.
It will help bring down these forms of, different acts of violence that take place, because people will start to realize how much more we have in common and how little our differences really are.
Last month, the mosque held another event, bringing different faiths together to build bridges in response to a spike in hate crimes. Police say between the beginning of the war on October 7th to November 20th this year, there have been 38 reports of anti-Semitic hate crimes and 17 Islamophobic or anti-Palestinian hate crimes, both numbers representing a significant increase since last year. Police also say anti-Semitism makes up 40% of all hate crimes reported this year. Jerry Kudret says the Muslim community strongly condemns any violence, and spreading knowledge is a powerful tool against hate.
Once we do that, it will help us get closer to establishing peace.
If you're a Christian, if you're Jewish, if you're Hindu, it doesn't matter. I think it's important to see other people's sides.
As the war in the Middle East rages on, the mosque says it hopes to continue opening its doors to such events, helping people see they have more in common than they may know. Anam Khan, CBC News, Toronto.
Reports say Israeli and Hamas negotiators have both signaled openness to a renewed ceasefire, but cannot yet agree on terms. Today, though, saw more bombardment, more demands for a hostage deal, and one hostage laid to rest. Katie Simpson reports.
Eylon Shamraz's casket is placed in front of his family, so devastated they can barely look up. As the 26-year-old is mourned and remembered through music and prayer, it does little to soothe their grief. Shamraz is one of 3 hostages mistakenly killed by Israeli forces in Gaza. Authorities now saying the men called out for help in Hebrew as IDF forces approached. 3 people came out, this Israeli major general says. They took off their shirts so that no one would think they have an explosive device, and held a white cloth on a pole to identify themselves. Signs reading SOS and help 3 hostages were found near where they were killed. These deaths have added to the intensity of protests in Tel Aviv.
I've never trusted this government, and now it's even worse.
Thousands in this crowd are united in their calls for hostage negotiations to resume immediately.
They must get them out with talking to the Hamas and with making some deal with them, not by bombing everything.
Israel's intense air and ground campaign continued through the weekend. Children are among the injured in Khan Yunis after a shell struck the maternity ward of a hospital. These scenes of desperation sparking a fresh push by the U.S. and other allies to urge Israel to do more to protect civilians. The U.S. Secretary of Defense is in the Middle East and will reportedly urge Israel to wind down some aspects of its military operation in the weeks ahead. It follows this op-ed, why the UK and Germany back a sustainable ceasefire. Too many civilians have been killed, say the foreign ministers of both countries. They do not support an immediate halt in the fighting, arguing it would only help Hamas. But they go on to support peace lasting for days, years, generations. We therefore support a ceasefire, but only if it is sustainable. Israel's prime minister is showing no signs of changing course. The will of the fallen is what guides us, he says. We will fight to the end. The visit by the U.S. Secretary of Defense to Israel is part of a broader effort by the White House to deliver a direct message to Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu to do more to protect civilians. The Hamas-run health ministry in Gaza says nearly 20,000 people have been killed. The Biden administration has been changing its tone and is more critical of Israel's operations. However, it continues to support its ally. About a week ago, the State Department rushed the sale of $100 million in munitions to Israel, skipping the routine congressional oversight process. Katie Simpson, CBC News, Washington.
A man is dead after an accident in Vaughan. York police responded today to a home on Woodland Acres around 3:30 this afternoon for an injured person. The man, believed to be in his 80s, according to police, was treated by both York paramedics and fire and was transported to hospital where he was later pronounced deceased. Police are treating the incident as a vehicle collision investigation, and there are currently no suspects. We have more reaction tonight to the news that Ontario is expanding the sale of alcohol. In 2026, beer, wine, and pre-mixed cocktails will be available at more grocery stores, as well as big box stores and convenience stores. As Sarah McMillan reports, convenience store owners hope this change will bring a big boost to a struggling sector.
Fantastic. A little easier to get it, more accessible, one-stop shop. Much better.
Right now, we already have a problem with kids drinking, smoking, vaping. So having it more accessible, I don't like that idea at all.
The reaction from the public may be mixed, but step into your local convenience store and chances are this latest announcement from the Ford government is landing well.
Yeah, we're really happy. We're really happy. When we start, I hope my sale not a double, but more than a double. I'm sure.
At his downtown Toronto store, Mohammed Ikram says any boost in sales is needed as he faces lower sales and rising costs.
I am struggling so much. 2 months before, I take second mortgage on my home to paying a rent. From morning till now, I have only 9 customers.
That's a trend across the province, according to the Ontario Convenience Stores Association.
We're losing 4 to 5 stores a week in Ontario. We have been for the last few years. Probably post-pandemic, it never recovered to what we thought it would be. Secondly, we have such a high reliance on tobacco, which is a sunset category. And then, of course, our next biggest traffic generator is lottery, which is a mature category.
And he says, like many industries, factors like rising rents and labor costs are also hurting bottom lines. And he argues losing convenience stores hurts more than just the owners, particularly in rural Ontario.
The backbone of the community is usually the family-run convenience store. They know everybody by name, they know what they buy, and they're there to service them.
Brian says based on the industries in Quebec and elsewhere in North America, he expects alcohol could make up 20 to 30% of convenience store sales and bring in more customers who will spend money on other items too.
Do you see alcohol sales as the potential kind of savior of the local convenience store?
Definitely. This in itself is the biggest drastic change that the convenience store business in Ontario will see in the past or the foreseeable future.
Of course, not everyone is celebrating this change. There are advocacy groups that are raising concerns about increased access to alcohol, particularly the possibility of easier access for minors. Now, Dave Bryan says convenience stores are well equipped to handle enforcement and IDing. He points out they already sell restricted products like tobacco and lottery tickets. Sarah McMillan, CBC News, Toronto.
And Sophia Kambalia joins us now with a first look at our forecast. Sophia, I got to say, Toronto got some rain today, but it doesn't look anything like the East Coast has in store.
No, we are getting a taste of this major storm system winding up the U.S. eastern seaboard, Sebastian. 30 million Americans have been in the crosshairs. We've seen historic storm surge. Some areas have seen over 300 millimeters of rainfall, and we've been noting near record low pressure readings as well. Even in Atlantic Canada, we'll be seeing widespread flooding and power outage risks. Now, we are getting a taste of the back end of this major East Coast system, as we've been seeing kind of on and off showers all throughout the day. Heavier rain in the nation's capital region. That continues throughout Monday, but we have a different flavor of this system. It'll be mixing with a raw northwesterly flow, and it will actually mean some snow on the opposite end of this system. Heavy rain continues for those of you in parts of eastern Ontario. All when it's said and done, you could have upwards of 50 millimeters of rainfall throughout Monday. Now, Monday is really that transition day when many of us will still see some showers. Tuesday, the temperatures drop. That lake effect snow machine turns on yet again for really the 5th or 6th time this winter season, this time with a really gusty northwesterly flow coming up in the long range. I'll talk about the travel headaches that could come both for the Monday evening and the Tuesday morning commute with the potential of blowing snow. And here's the spoiler alert. Even those of us around the GTA could see a little bit of snow out of this next system. Sebastian.
Can't wait for those details. Thank you so much, Sophia.
You're welcome.
Winnipeg police are investigating after fake AI-generated nude photos were created of several girls at a local school. It's becoming a growing problem as experts say the process is becoming easier. Nicole Williams has more.
Right now, this Winnipeg school is at the center of a growing issue after fake AI-generated nudes of several female students were posted online.
It was very disturbing and I was shocked.
The school says the source images came from social media and then were doctored to be explicit. Police are investigating. A note went out to all parents Thursday, including this mom of 3 boys.
My jaw just kind of dropped after reading halfway through, and I was floored.
It's not clear who is behind the doctored photos, but the mother of one victim told CBC News they must be held accountable. Incidents like this are becoming common, with teenage girls often the target.
It made me feel violated. It made me feel unsafe.
Last week, a high school student in Miami had a nude photo of her generated and posted online by classmates. She spoke out with her identity protected.
I don't want to be in a school with boys who did that, because I talk to them every day.
And experts say popular AI technology generates images that look hyper-realistic.
All it takes is just an internet connection and an image of somebody.
This cybersecurity expert showed us just how quickly it can be done. A publicly available photo online turned into pornography in just a few minutes.
Yeah, that is very uncomfortable.
The Canadian Centre for Child Protection works to identify explicit images of children online and have them deleted, and says parents need to start having conversations with their kids about AI.
It doesn't really matter whether or not it is actually the youth in the image or not. There is still that effect. They still feel like they're exposed.
Experts say it's a difficult problem to control, but suggest websites restrict the kinds of photos that can be uploaded, and that AI-generated images of child pornography be added to Canada's criminal code. Nicole Williams, CBC News, Toronto.
A group of volunteers gathered today in Brampton to put together and wrap gift boxes for seniors across Peel Region who may be socially isolated this Christmas. The initiative was started in 2017 by 2 sisters who wanted to make a difference, and it's now become an annual tradition.
Seniors are kind of forgotten at Christmas time. There's lots going on for families, lots of supports for children, but we felt when we looked around there wasn't a heck of a lot for seniors. So we started this Christmas initiative just for our friends and family. We put a message out to them, and the response was so good that we actually started a little Facebook page, and it's just exploded since then. The support has been amazing.
I think about the person receiving them, and I think about what they might want to open up on Christmas Day, and so I usually do a mix of what I would normally put in a stocking. So it's a mix of toiletries, a mix of fun things, and obviously some goodies and treats. And I'm just hoping that when the person opens it on Christmas morning, that it brings a smile to their face and a little bit of extra joy to their day.
Our lives are very busy. I would hope that initiatives like this bring members from our community together to remember. And a lot of our Santas do things because they want to do something to remember their grandparent by. So it's lovely. I hope that it gets bigger every year.
And Sophia is back with your long-range forecast for the week. Usually, Sophia, we try and end the newscast on a good note, but you're here announcing, what, snow for the rest of the week? I'm trying to reconcile that. It doesn't work quite that much for me.
Depends what you're hoping for. If you want the mild December, I have some of that for Monday, but then everybody wants a little bit of snow as we lead up to Christmas, right? Can't promise a white Christmas, though, if that's the good news you were hoping for. Monday is still mild above seasonal. It's where you will still rack up that 30 to 50 millimeters of rainfall in parts of the nation's capital region. Everybody sees some on and off showers, and then if you are a cold weather lover, you get a little bit of a taste of it on Tuesday. Snow squalls for all the traditional snowbelt regions, 5 to 10 centimeters. You've seen quite a bit of that so far this winter season, but we haven't seen 1 to 5 centimeters around the Golden Horseshoe, and that's what you can wake up to Monday overnight into Tuesday, along with winds that are gusting 40 to 70 kilometers an hour. It can make for some tricky commutes, both the Monday evening commute and the Tuesday morning commute, as we could see some of that dusting of snowfall blowing around any of the major roadways and especially into any of the snowbelt regions. Now Tuesday, something you also haven't seen for quite a while, is a daytime high in the -2 range. That's quite a bit cooler than where we've been so far this entire month. It will feel like -8 throughout the day Tuesday, and I want to bring your attention to some of our overnight temperatures as well. Monday overnight, as we transition with that snowfall, -4, feeling even cooler, and then Tuesday overnight, -5. So some chilly overnights, much different than everything we've seen so far in yellow this month that has been above seasonal, like that balmy 12.5 that we saw Friday into Saturday. That snow that you'll wake up to Tuesday morning, though, won't stick around. We have mild conditions for the rest of the week as we lead up in this last week of the festive season into Christmas weekend next weekend. Sebastian.
And we do need snow for Christmas. That's a fact. Thank you so much, Sophia.
I will work on it.
Well, that's our show for you tonight. Thanks for watching. You can stay caught up on our news anytime on our website, cbcnews.ca. Thank you for being with us, and have a great night.